review. It is 4 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, which means it is time for the Audible. I am joined, as always, by my guy, Donnie RightSide, and we are ready to take our first looks and break down each and every game on this card. Donnie RightSide, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Excited for this week again. Tuesday we'll tee it up. We'll let it marinate through the week. Final Friday, fire away. I love it, man. Tuesday, big show here. Let's go. Let's get it popping, Jimmy.
Let's get after it. I am wearing my Warren Moon jersey. 3 straight winning weeks, but by the tiniest of margins. I need a giant week. Now, I'm thankful to be in the black over the last 3 weeks. I'm still I'm still well in the hole that I put myself in after weeks 2 and 3. But I'm moving in the right direction. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Buffo on the beat. The king of prop. Bill Butler says, Jimmy, I told y'all Jamal Williams was a play last night. I said exactly 13, 14 carries, 3-4 catches, and that's literally exactly what he had. Buffo on the beat. We got Tomarino. Tomar says, I had a winning week. Clean up in college and was up decently in the NFL. But after losing the over in Detroit Green Bay game, it feels like a losing week. Yes. I got 55 at minus 116 at Pinnacle for show purposes, but I bet it at 45.5, and so I lost $200. Thankfully, it was an okay day yesterday, so the $200 didn't cost me too much. Still ended up $162 yesterday, but it was very disappointing. All the same. Justin Grammer in there. We got Thomas Garcia. Macaroon 99 says the Monday Night Football game was a travesty. Just refs. I mean, it's turning into boxing and figure skating, Donnie, and we will talk about that today. Robert Weimer in the house, Rosie, Thomas Garcia, Just Jordan, A.M., Deer Slayer, Ski, DX Filer, Gerald Jones, Nico, Long Balls, Larry, Brad, Win. Let's get after it. And let's start by putting up the record. And Donnie and I have work to do, but we're not even halfway through the season. There's no time to panic. But we have work to do. Rafa, can you pop up that record, please? And clearly, work needs to be done. But we have time to do it. And this is where we are going to take care of business right here on the Tuesday show. Because there are looks that I want to make and could use your help, Donnie RightSide, in following through with them. But first, Donnie, I must ask you, what is your breakdown of the refereeing from last night's game, and how do you include that in your capping moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know how you even include it in there because it's more of like a coin toss. And I was talking a little bit earlier today about it to a couple of different people. When you take a look at refereeing in the NFL, Jimmy, when did it get so bad? Like, you can't tell me that the 70s were so well officiated, the 80s and 90s, but we didn't talk about it as much as we do now with the advent of the 4K TVs, HD, high definition. There's so many rules in the game of football, and some that you can really look away from if somebody can stop. The one thing that we like about the NBA, Jimmy, now is in the last 2 minutes, everything can get reviewed. So even if something is a little bit touchy, instant replay is supposed to overturn things that are going to really affect the outcome of the game. The hands to the face at the end of the football game, which essentially gave the Packers the win, that can't happen. We can live with, a bad pass interference call in the second quarter or the third quarter, but in under 2 minutes, under 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, you have to get these calls right. Not only does a lot of money change hands with sports gambling, but people get fired in the NFL over this stuff. Hey, coaches, you didn't make the playoffs. You got to get out. Well, that win last night might propel you into the playoffs, or if you had a team total of the Detroit Lions, they should have won that football game.
Well put. Last 2 minutes of the game, everything should be looked at upstairs, even if it takes us a few minutes longer, even if it extends games and takes a bit away from the viewing experience. I agree with that take, absolutely and completely. All right, let's get to work, Donnie. Let's get to work. Now, this was the second week in a row for me where my leans hit at a very high rate. So I'm not going to limit myself to 6 bets this week. I'm going to open it up. In saying that, I do find less angles than I found last week. Let's get started with the Thursday nighter, Donnie. Kansas City, Denver. Opens at 3.5 at plus 103 for Kansas. And that's at Pinnacle. Pinnacle, my opening lines. And now it's minus 3.5 at plus 111 and 3 at most other books. Still at 3.5 at Heritage, but minus 3s on the board at other books. This total opened up at 49. You can still get it there, but it's mostly 48.5. Mark P in the house. Ben is money. NGB Entertainment ready to go. Nasty Nate in the house. Let's talk about this spot. Chiefs at Broncos, 70 Fahrenheit clear, 7 miles per hour is the wind in Denver. Mile High is a tough place for the Chiefs to right the ship, but this is a must-win game for them. And it seems like another situation where we're going to see all the public on the Chiefs and all the sharps on the Broncos. Another week for Tyreek Hill, who's the most uncoverable wide receiver in the league. Watkins tentatively expected to suit up in week 7. There's optimism that he will suit up. We shall see. This Chiefs defense, Donnie, isn't good at all. D Ford gone. Justin Houston gone. Sure, Frank Clark can be dynamic, but it's not enough. Can these Broncos eat? Emmanuel Sanders may play. Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant doing nice things. Philip Lindsay is a beast. And there's Buff on the beat saying Philip Lindsay's going to smash and gash KC's run D. Donnie RightSide, the Thursday nighter, Chiefs, Broncos. I have a lean to the under, and I want to hear your breakdown of this spot.
Yeah, it's a nice spot for the Broncos at this point. You're right. On the home on a Thursday night, you're getting the Kansas City Chiefs off 2 losses there and a banged-up Kansas City Chiefs team. Patrick Mahomes seems to hurt each one of his legs or ankles weekly. The defensive line, has really attrition for the Kansas City Chiefs. You thought that offense would just continue to be a high-flying offense and cover for the defense where, the old Andy Reid adage, hey, let's just play good on the defensive line. We're going to be winning at the end of the game, winning the pass rush. The only problem with that is, Jimmy, when you take a look at Kansas City's defense, they're not doing anything well. They're not rushing the passer well. They're not stopping anybody in the running game. And that plays really well right into the Denver hands this weekend because you're going to get a look in Buffalo and the beat said Philip Lindsay in the chat box is going to gash KC's run defense. He's one of the toughest running backs in the NFL. He should have a pretty good week. It's can you get enough out of Flacco to keep the chains moving and along to keep this team engaged? If we remember last year, Denver got out to a big lead in their home game against Kansas City, but that Kansas City high-octane offense overcome and got the W in that football game. But looking from an overall Chiefs perspective, I don't like the trajectory of this football team. That's bad games back-to-back, Jimmy, at home. Now going to a tough environment against a division rival who is playing better football now, putting back a couple wins together, not quitting on the season. Vic Fangio's got that defense lights out, pass coverage on point. The pass rush needs to wake up a little bit. It's a shame that Chubb went down a couple weeks ago, but Von Miller needs to wake up for that defense. But hey, if there's a live dog, I got to be honest with you, Jimmy. If you'd asked me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, said, hey, you know what, Donnie, I'm going to give you a look at a future line. Kansas City -3 on the road versus Denver. You would have ate that Kansas City lineup. I like Denver on Thursday night, Jimmy, especially if you get a little bit of juice and get that 3.5 here.
What do you think of this total? Because I'm leaning towards the under. Is that, I think it's high enough for me to get under. What do you think of this total at opening at 49, now 48.5?
I completely agree. I mean, you're taking a look at what Kansas City wants to do on offense, right? And how the way the Denver Broncos are going to attack the Kansas City defense on the opposite side. Philip Lindsay is going to get a lot of run in this football game. Their ground game, they're going to lean on it. They're going to chew up time. The Denver Broncos have a really good defense. So if you can limit the actual possessions that Kansas City has, that's the way you win it. Because when you try to just, simple it down and just say, how could you win this game? Denver doesn't want to go out here and say, hey, Jimmy, let's go hurry up. We're going to engage Kansas City, go toe-to-toe. No, keep that offense off the field. It's the perfect tonic. A really bad rushing defense for Kansas City versus a pretty good running back in Philip Lindsay. That's a nice recipe for an under here on a Thursday night, Jimmy.
If you had a choice, or if you were only given the under or the Broncos as a side, sounds like you were probably leaning towards the Broncos. Is that a fair assessment?
I would, yeah, exactly. I would like if I'm going to get 3.5, I would like the Broncos more than the total here, Jimmy. Correct.
All right, there is your Thursday nighter. Chiefs, Broncos. Moves need to be made and will be made on this game. Donnie leaning towards the Broncos, hoping to get that 3.5. And did you lock in the 3.5 yet? Have you locked anything in so far this week?
I haven't locked in anything yet, but I'm pretty close on those. I'm going to watch it to get a true line where, you can get something favorable there, but I'm really leaning towards it. And of course, if we do fire on anything on the Thursday night football games, always we hashtag the Audible here, me and Jimmy, so we'll keep everybody up to date if we can do that.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to Sunday. We're going to start with Cardinals-Giants. And through breaking this game down, I felt a change from initially liking the Cardinals to sort of moving over towards the Giants by the end of it, which probably tells me just to stay away. The over also interesting. 63 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5 miles per hour Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern in New York. Two bad defenses. Arizona is trending up. Arizona opening up as 3-point dogs. That's where they stand right now. This total opened at 49.5. It's now at 49 or 48.5, although Pinnacle's still hanging at 49.5. Kyler Murray looks better every week. Patrick Peterson comes back. That should be a nice boost to these young Cardinals. Kingsbury's offense is looking good. It's looking good. It's looking good. He's doing good work. Danny Dimes, though, coming back to earth. Saquon Barkley, he is the biggest question here. He practiced again on Monday. So did Evan Ingram. Both have at least a chance to return, is the word. And Barkley tweeted that a hype video, I'll be back soon. And then they dropped Jonathan Hilliman Friday, which is clearly a sign that Saquon is probably going to be back this week. Donnie, RightSide, Cardinals, Giants.
Yeah, it's an interesting one when you take a look at it because you are getting the two young quarterbacks. And yes, Arizona did win back-to-back weeks, which is great. It's going to give them a lot of, fruitfulness, as we like to say, moving forward for that offense. The one interesting dynamic of this game is going to be the rookie quarterback going on the road and how he can hold up. Because he beat Cincinnati on the road and then took a last-minute drive. They ended up beating the Atlanta Falcons because of a missed extra point and a questionable couple calls in that football game. But now you're going to come east, and I agree with the line movement, actually. Opened up like that -1 in the favor of the New York Giants, now up to -3. But the one interesting thing is, I got to tell you, it's fun watching some of these younger quarterbacks, and especially in this offense that we're taking a look at Kyler Murray. If you can give him time where his wide receivers can win, that offense can really be effective. And we take a look at some of the Giants' stats here, Jimmy, not really effective with the pass rush overall. And I've always knocked the coverage that they have in the back end of the secondary. They're not that talented. Now, usually if you can get a little bit of a pass rush, you can mask some deficiencies in the back end of your defense, being the New York Football Giants. But Arizona, this kid is live in the pocket. He's extending plays. He'll probably run for 70 or 80 yards, which keeps the chains moving. We'll see if we get Christian Kirk back this weekend. It's a tough one to look at. I like the way the Giants play. I think the Giants are going to be sound. I think if Saquon Barkley comes back, that's going to be a big boost. We'll see if Sterling Shepard comes back at wide receiver. I usually like to lean the home team especially against younger version of football teams. But I got to tell you, I'm not going to be surprised if Kyler Murray comes in and puts up some big numbers against the Giants, Jimmy.
Same here. And does that lead you towards an over, Donnie?
Yeah, they the same way I talk about Denver, like they play towards the under. Arizona gives you no indication that they play towards unders. They're fast on offense. They're going to make dynamic plays. They're going to make mistakes, and their defense isn't very good. But an interesting one you brought up, Jimmy, when you put the preamble up here, that was Patrick Peterson coming back. Let's see what type of condition he is, because if he's back to his normal top 10 quarterback or cornerback self, that's a huge boost for them.
And if he has the right attitude, it's going to help as well, because it's a very, very young defense they have over there. Mm-hmm. Prince of the City says, that's for the Denver D. Has played one good game. It's not the old Denver D. Prince of the City back to Denver. Tormio says, I lean over in Arizona Giants. Two bad defenses. Both teams have been strong offensively against bad defenses. Robert Weimer says, like the Giants to get back on track with Dimes. Really like the over here unless weather gets in the way. Akira leaning to the under 49. Tormio says, I don't think Peterson back makes a big difference. He doesn't want to be there. Justin Grammer liking the Giants to win. There's Ziggy Balls in the house. Corey Mack says Giants in over. Giants bounce back. Cards not good enough to win 3 straight. Tormino says both teams have decent run defenses, but no secondary. Should be a lot of points without moving the clock much. Ziggy Balls says I like Giants. Teams off Thursday night is nice. Giants in playoff hunt. Cardinals in bad travel spot. All right, and Buffalo on the beat says Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is going to smash. He's placing a very large wager on Ingram going over 7 or 8 catches, plus 100 yards, plus 1 TD. Cardinals are funneling targets to the tight end like we've never seen. All tight ends have been smashing. Wow, that's a very interesting look from our guy Buffalo on the beat. Worth a copy and paster. All right, so let's move on to a play that I like. I would say that there's 3 for sure that I like, possibly 4, which is less than normal. And there's one move I really like on the side in this Texans-Colts game, and on towards the under. I like the Colts here. Donnie, I really like the Colts here. And I've been very impressed with the Texans. I had the Texans against the Chiefs last week, but the Colts are just a special team coming off of a bye this week with Reich behind the helm. Colts open up at -1. That's where they are right now. There is a 1.5 at 5 dimes. There is a pick'em. And at Heritage, there is a pick 'em at Bookmaker. This total opened up at 48. It's now 47.5 or 47. I just feel like, simply put, Donnie, Colts are the more complete team. They're coming off a bye. They have better coaching, a clear coaching advantage, and they can minimize what the Texans do well. Also, Texans coming off that big win at Arrowhead. It just feels like that classic letdown spot. Do we back the Colts here at home on Sunday, Donnie RightSide?
Based around what's been taking place in the NFL this season, Jimmy, rest and extra productivity from your coaching staff over a bye week has really paid dividends in this, and you're dead on. I mean, Frank Reich and that coaching staff, they're going to have this game schemed up and ready to go. And also, let's not forget, while you're at home trying to get rested and ready, Darius Leonard possibly back, get another couple guys, keep them fresh for Indianapolis on offense and defense. But if we take a look at Houston, Jimmy, that's a tough game. They expended a ton of energy to beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. I loved what they did. They were even sloppy on offense, dropping a lot of passes where Deshaun Watson could add some electric numbers in that football game if Will Fuller can actually catch the football, which he did the week before. I like Houston's offense in this game versus the Indianapolis defense, and vice versa. I think Indianapolis's offense is going to have a pretty good game against the Houston Texans, more so than a side, which I do agree with you, the rested and ready team at home after a tough, hard-fought game the week before by the Texans. I think Indy, I'm leaning towards that side. But when I take a look overall at some of the odds here at SBRodds.com, 47s across the. I think there's going to be points in this game, Jimmy. Give me the over 47 early in the week. I'm leaning that direction real heavily at this point.
Well, I will wipe off my lean to the under, but I will keep these asterisks beside the Indianapolis Colts coming off a bye. We have 4 teams coming off the bye, and 2 of them I think can do some real damage here. This is one of them. All right, let's move on to another play that I like very much, Donnie RightSide, and that, and Tomarino agreeing that they might get Leonard back. Ziggy Ball saying I like the Colts. Matt Carew 99 says all Colts, and Ben Is Money says love the Colts here. Tormino says I think the value's with the Colts. Texans defense is trash. They just look good because Mahomes was hurt. Says Texans pass rush has been weak all year. Colts offensive line should give him a lot of time to throw. Yes, I think the Colts are going to be a move that I make after breaking it down with you guys. All right, I'm starting to feel it. That looks like that's going to be my first spot on this card. Let's talk about another spot I like very much here, Donnie, and that is the under in Dolphins at Bills. Dolphins at Bills. Man, how many moons? How long has it been since Buffalo has been a 17-point favorite? Opened at 16.5, now 17. This total opened up at 39.5, and now at 40.5 at Pinnacle and 40 everywhere else. And I want to go against that market move, Donnie. I want to take the under. 60 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. The wind is the early look. Bills coming off a bye. The Bills are not a high-powered offense. They don't put up a ton of points. They have a top 5 D. Rosen looks like he's going to get the start again. He's got no protection and no weapons. I don't want to sit on Sunday and have the Bills minus 17 in my pocket, but I do want to have this under 40.5 in my pocket. Donnie RightSide, Dolphins, Bills.
I like your look because if we're looking at the Buffalo Bills, should they be able to beat up on the Miami Dolphins? Yes, but we're still talking about the Buffalo Bills offense, which is built to play off of their defense, run the football, not really that explosive at wide receivers. If it's a 3rd down and 5, 3rd down and 6, just keep the chains moving. Maybe Josh Allen gets out of the pocket and can move those chains. But when we're taking a look at the Miami Dolphins, I agree completely with their philosophy. As you saw last week, Rosen was atrocious in that game. They bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick and almost win the football game, and then you see what Brian Flores, the head coach, says, you know what? Probably going to be Rosen the rest of the way. The only thing that you should be deciding is if Rosen is an NFL quarterback or not, and if he's not, you're going to get a really high draft pick. Putting Fitzmagic in there who might be able to steal a game or two is enough to keep you out of that number 1 spot, and that's certainly something that the Miami Dolphins do not want. But getting down to the game, I don't agree with the movement, Jimmy, going from 39 to 40, because when you take a look at the offense for the Miami Dolphins going against a top 10 defense on the Buffalo Bills, they stink on the offensive line, they stink at wide receiver, they stink at quarterback, and they stink at running back going against an elite level defense on the road. And let's not forget also, with what we put into the game last week, saying this is our Super Bowl, this is a chance that we can win this football game. They go out and lose the football game on a 2-point conversion. Now they got to go to Buffalo, realizing, you know what? Now we're going to get back to playing some more difficult football teams. Buffalo should win comfortably. I'm not laying, 16.5 or 17 points, but I would be really surprised if the Miami Dolphins cross over the 14-point mark in this game, Jimmy.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I do not expect 40s to be here when we're here on Friday, and think I should make a move on this sooner rather than later. Tomarino says I'd lean under. But Dolphins offense is so bad, turnovers can increase or decrease the score. Robert Weimer says Miami and Buffalo really hate each other. Miami shot their wad last week. Love the under here. I doubt that Miami scores more than 3, if that even. When I roll with Robert Weimer, my ROI is very nice, and I think I may be doing this again. Joe Rich Ramirez says 23-3, something like that. for the score. Nick O liking Dolphins plus 17. Ziggy Ball's leaning Miami on the spread, liking under. Bill should not be minus 17. Torino says, I don't trust Bill's offense. Not sure Allen runs as much after the concussion. Brant Hunt says take the under. My guy Brant Hunt in the house. And there's Jay Money is money in the house. Says, what up, guys? Liking the Giants this week. All right. And Brant Hunt said McDermott is an under-trending coach. Anyways, okay, let's keep rolling along. Next up, Vikings at Lions. Vikings at Lions. Lions opening up at -2. Now it's switched to the Vikings at -1. This total opened up at 44. Now it's 45 or 45.5. I like the Vikings here. And I think that this could be an under spot, although I'm hesitant to make a move there. I'm closer to making a move on the Vikings. They're starting to roll. And what we talked about 2 weeks ago, them getting confidence, or I guess last week, the Vikings getting confidence going up against a weak Giants secondary, clearly carried over against that banged-up Eagles secondary. They're starting to roll. This division is up for grabs. Cousins needed that game against the Giants. He's got his confidence. And this Vikings team, Donnie, is so balanced. Good offense, great defense. And now we come to this Detroit Lions team. They've been screwed out of a couple wins. They are a good team with a strong defense. I'm interested in the Vikings. I'm interested in the under. Donnie, RightSide, Vikings, Lions.
I got to tell you, I'm the same with you here, Jim, because we're taking a look at the Minnesota Vikings. When do we like the Vikings? We love the Vikings at home. Why? They play fast on carpet. They're a dome team. They're going on the road this weekend, Jimmy, and guess what? Oh, yeah, Detroit Lions, a dome team, fast carpet, fast turf. They should be completely engaged. The one thing that you do have to really like about Minnesota's defense, Jimmy, they win at all levels. They have really good pass rush, great linebacking core. They're good in the secondary. They tackle really well, and that's going to be a problem when you go up against the Detroit Lions, who, hey, they gave their all last night. Again, you're right. Coming off a bye, they were gaming. Hey, if you won money on Detroit, that's all you really care about, but not the Detroit Lions themselves. They wanted to win that football game and felt like they're robbed, so that takes a lot out of it. That was a Monday Night Football game. You had a nice get-right game. You saw with the week before with the Minnesota Vikings, winning at wide receiver is what we talk about. Adam Thielen is wide open every single play, it seems like, and now you can get a re-engaged Stephon Diggs with that deep route. Everything is clicking, even if the offensive line isn't that good for Minnesota. If you're going to get play calling like you got on Sunday versus the Philadelphia Eagles and execution like they got, that is a huge ramp up. But let's not mistake this. The cornerbacks in the secondary for the Detroit Lions is much better than the Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be a hard-fought football game, but I think Minnesota is starting to round back in form because, again, when you're talking about things that you need to win in the NFL, if your quarterback can say hi, we all laugh at Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins does have the ability to pick up some big numbers. You have a winning weapon at wide receiver in Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. You have an all-world tailback in Cook overall for the Minnesota Vikings. Then the defense wins at every level, tackles great, and also has a great coordinator. I lean Vikings here.
I lean Vikings here as well. And we just got news from our AM. Marcus Peters traded to the Ravens. Wow.
How about that?
Wow. Cash my under 10.5 on the Rams season win total right now. Tom Marino says Rams look like they're giving up on the season. Wow. Okay. Rye Cape says, I don't trust Minnesota away from home. Macaru 99, all Lions here. Cousins won't have wide open receivers. Torino says Vikings have been strong on turf. Robert Weimer says Lions can hang with the Vikes, but can't trust either quarterback. Maybe an under will be the play for Robert Weimer. Nico says give me the Vikings, but at home, and here clearly on the road. Ski Profit leaning under. Ziggy Ball's leaning Lions. Nico says Lions struggled in the red zone. Prince of the City says short week, bad loss, Vikings. And Prince of the City did have the Vikings on the alternative line going for a big score, fading his hometown Eagles. And that was excellent work. Prince of the City. Yes, I agree. I think the Vikings are the spot here. Tough loss, short week. I think this is the spot here. I'm going to add a couple asterisks to the Minnesota Vikings. All right, let's move on to another team coming off a bye that I find very, very appealing. And the market is moving that way. It feels like I need to jump on right now. And I haven't said this all year, but I'm saying it now. I find the Oakland Raiders very appealing against Green Bay right now. Raiders at Packers. Packers opening up at 6.5, now 6.5 and 6s. This total opened up at 46.5. Now we see a 47 and a 47.5, although you can still get a 46.5. Raiders coming off the bye, and I just feel like they can handle the Packers here. The Green Bay defense has been good, but this offense, very pedestrian. And we don't even know if Devontae Adams is going to return. I mean, there were just so many missed plays by receivers by the Packers last night. Oakland has hung tough. In all their games this year, they've hung tough. Josh Jacobs has been very good. This defense, without perfect, has been pretty good. I think the Raiders plus the points here, Donnie, right side. Raiders, Packers, how do you see this?
Yeah, that's a pretty good look by you, Jimmy, because I'm really impressed. I mean, this is the whole part of the season where we thought, like, we're going to get such a good laugh out of the Raiders, and they're never going to play another home game. They're going to get waxed everywhere they go. They have no shot. They give up a home game overseas to play the Bears to get killed in that game. And look at the Oakland Raiders coming back to life here out in the AFC West. But you know what I like even more in this game, Jimmy, when you're trying to take a look at some matchups that might work? Oakland's defense still isn't very good. You're going against an elite level quarterback that it seems like no matter who is at wide receiver, injuries, non-injuries, players available, they move the football regardless because Aaron Rodgers is that good. He turns average running backs to decent running backs into great running backs because you always have to worry about Aaron Rodgers pulling the football and obviously throwing the ball deep over your head or making play action calls. They always are in the right formation. So if you're taking a look at an Oakland Raiders defense that should be able to struggle in this game, the one thing that you're getting from the Raiders, which I really like, is, when they headed even overseas, like, hey man, they're down a couple wide receivers. There's no way they're going to be able to. They moved the football against the Chicago Bears on turf. That was impressive. They're going to be able to move the football against the Green Bay Packers in this game. If we're taking a look at SBRodds.com, what do we have, Jimmy? 46.5, 47 range. I think we're going to get some points in this football game. I really like the total in this one.
So does Tom Marino. He says, I'd lean over. Raiders offensive line playing well, but the defense has holes. Rodgers has been better at home. I like this spot for the Raiders. Bogey 34, Raiders 14 days rest. Packers played Monday Night Football. Robert Weimer, too many points for Green Bay. Oakland can use the O-line to beat on the defense, keep Rodgers off the field. Green Bay has hurt receivers as well. I agree on this very, very, very much. Hank Moody said, I put 625 on Niners, Bills, money line for 185. Those teams are likely to win, but you just had such a great night. And last night, Hank, and I just don't promote taking all that money and putting it on two huge favorites. It's not really something that I would feel irresponsible promoting that look. I'd say keep doing exactly what you're doing. What won for you yesterday was studying, finding spots, and taking advantage of them at the minus 110 that we're all working within. I would do that, and I would not put it all on those two parlays, on that parlay. But you're rolling, you're hot, trust your instincts. Okay, let's keep rolling right now. The Raiders seem like a bet on for me in this spot, Donnie, and you're liking the over and not so much the side, although you agree with the look, not enough to make a move on it?
No, I do agree with the look because, again, we're getting back to that same thing, Rustin and Red. John Gruden's going to have a nice scheme going forward, and Carr's been having a nice season so far. This team is run blocking extremely well. Young running back that he was banged up a couple weeks ago, performed well overseas, gets another 2 weeks off. I think we're going to get a good offensive output from the Oakland Raiders. It always gets back to the point, though. I mean, we're under a touchdown. So do I think the Oakland Raiders can win this football game? I think that'll be a little bit tough. So that's enough to sway me away if I'm getting maybe 7 or 7.5 in that range for the Oakland Raiders. But I do think they're going to be schemed well. I think we'll get some points. I think, you see the defense last night, which I do like the Detroit Lions defense. That's not the same defense with the Oakland Raiders. Oakland Raiders a little bit softer over there, so I think Aaron Rodgers should be able to move it up and down the field on them.
Very, 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 very interesting. My pleasure, Hank. Man, I want your pockets to grow very, very badly. So this is what we do. We work together as a team to defeat the juice. Let's move on to a spot, Donnie, where I look at this line. I'm like, man, everybody's going to be on these Jacksonville Jaguars. And it makes me hesitate, or at least move forward with trepidation. Jaguars, Bengals. Jaguars open at -3 at -111. So there's been a 12-cent move towards the Jags. So clearly 3.5s are just about to pop up. And you have to think the public will be hammering the Jags because the Bengals are just a bad football team. This total opened up at 43.5. 144 has popped up a bookmaker, but the rest are at 43.5. 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour wind at Cincinnati on Sunday. Bengals run defense is so bad. You just have to think that Fournette is going to run and run and run and run. But they did play the Ravens tough. I'm not sure. Like when we get to this Ravens game, Ravens-Seahawks. I don't know what to make of those two teams, and I don't know what kind of barometer playing the Ravens tight is right now, Donnie, and I don't know if that makes me believe in this Bengals team at all. I just see this as Jacksonville being a much better football team than the Bengals, and only 3 points. Is this a trap, Donnie? Jaguars -3 at Bengals.
You would figure, because it's one of the games, actually the 2 games that I got right last week. I had the New Orleans Saints who played the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then I had the Cincinnati Bengals get the cover with the Reds, which they didn't deserve one bit. I mean, you take a look at the opening kickoff they returned for a touchdown, and when's their next touchdown come? In junk time when they're down, 14 points? So when we're talking to look at a competitive standpoint in the game, every time, if you guys watch Red Zone after even watch the game itself, it seemed like Lamar Jackson had the ball and was running for 20 yards every single update where the Ravens were on the move and just couldn't punch in enough touchdowns actually to cover it or have the defensive wherewithal to say, hey, you know what? The Ravens didn't have to cover the line to win the game. They just had to win the game, and that's the way they played it at the end, and Cincinnati was able to score. But you're right about this. Look, Jacksonville's not an electric team on offense. We like Minshew. We think he's going to be a good quarterback, but that offense isn't electric. They're going on the road. And let's also not forget, Jimmy, when you take a look at a psychological standpoint, I mean, the Bengals are just, cruising throughout the season, and hey, where are we going to end up? Is A.J. Green ever coming back? Is anybody going to get shipped off at the deadline? But when you take a look at Jacksonville, they put a lot into that football game last week against the New Orleans Saints. They played them toe-to-toe for 3.5 quarters before they let it slip away in the fourth quarter. I'm wondering maybe if a younger quarterback at that point, we needed to win that game. We didn't win. Now we go up in Cincinnati. It's not the biggest game day environment, and maybe they can get a little bit sloppy because we're talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars where a lot of people like them in that underdog role. But now you're favored by 3, possibly 3.5, meaning that you maybe have to win by 7 on the road. Can they do that? They possibly can, but it's a tough spot for me to back Jacksonville going on the road, even though I do think Cincinnati does stink, Jimmy.
Yeah, this is just screaming at me to take the Jaguars. I just I'm going to take a lot more time on this. Tomino says Minshew's limited. I think this game should be a pick'em, but I don't trust the Bengals. Minshew will be a good backup. I don't see him as a franchise quarterback. Ziggy Ball says I lean Jaguars on the spread. Jaguars off 2 losses. Cincy off the Ravens game. Sanka says Cincy will win their first game this week. Robert Weimer says I can't get a handle on these Bungles. They looked dead all day last week, but woke up for a couple minutes before the half and at the end of the game to cover. Torman says Bengals linebackers are very slow, horrible in run defense. Okay, so I'm going to take off these extra. I need more time to sit with this. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling along. Rams, Falcons. Another interesting game. We just got word of the Peters trade. Rams, Falcons. Rams opening up at -3. Now there are a couple 2.5s on the board. Falcons opening up at 53.5. Now at 54.5. And we both fell for the Falcons last week, Donnie. And I've been falling for them often this year. And their season is effectively over. They just lost to a bad Cardinals team. And now, what do we have what did the Falcons have going for them? Just that they're at home. I mean, I don't see anything else. Now we have Talib hurt, Peters traded. If Goff gets a clean pocket, he can be okay. And that's another issue here, Donnie, because, Atlanta does not have a pass rush that's scary at all. So he's going to have a clean pocket. Maybe he can do some damage here. Both defenses look bad. Littleton, the only one on the Rams defense playing well. This should be a statement week for the Rams, and it feels like the blueprint is out from the Super Bowl on how to shut down these Rams. I was thinking Rams and the over, and I can't wait to hear a breakdown of this game. Very interesting spot, Donnie.
Yeah, I do agree with the over at this point right now. Atlanta is a stone-cold over team. They're actually getting some pretty good play from Matt Ryan at quarterback. You still have the elite weapons at wide receiver. The one thing I can't quite figure out, which is a shame, because you see Dalvin Cook and the way he's playing for the Minnesota Vikings. That's supposed to be Devontae Freeman. I mean, they're the same school, almost like a clone running back. Now, Dalvin, obviously a little bit more explosive even in college than Freeman was, but Freeman was an excellent running back, dinged up last year, got his money, and they don't get any explosive plays out of him. Ito Smith comes in the game. They don't get any explosive plays out of him. That really hurts them because they're strong at every level on skill positions that you need, wide receiver, tight end, and they should be strong at running back, which they're not. But then we flip over to the Rams, and what an interesting game last week because a lot of people looking to bet the Rams in that football game. And if you watch the first drive, like, holy cow. Oh, boy, we were right. Extra time. Sean McVay running the football. Todd Gurley's going to be inactive. It doesn't matter. It looks like Malcolm Brown's got 40 yards or 35 yards on the opening carry. They go up 7-0. They do nothing. They do absolutely nothing the rest of the football game. And I got to tell you, you're getting nothing out of Jared Goff. You have 3 elite wide receiving weapons and Everett, the tight end, coming on strong. That team should have no problem moving up and down the field, but something isn't clicking. From the very first show we did here, Jimmy, something's not right with Jared Goff. He's leaving way too many plays out there because with that amount of weapons, you shouldn't be coming up small on offense, and this is going to be a test game for him because you should be fine in the dome. That's a fast track against a defense that's pretty soft at this point. But if you're asking me to take the Rams going on the road and Marcus Peters was their best cornerback. In the middle of a season where you think you're going to win and you're not worried about salary cap and you went to the Super Bowl last year, now you're going to put Aqib. Something is wrong in the locker room because Aqib Talib looks like he's going on IR and be done for the season because he has cracked ribs. And out of nowhere, Marcus Peters, your best cornerback, best secondary playmaker, gets shipped out. Something is wrong with that defense. And what a perfect tonic coming in for Atlanta. Hey, down your 2 cornerbacks that are starting. Welcome to Calvin Ridley and welcome to Julio Jones. Why don't we see points in this game, Jimmy? If we don't, it's only because of Jared Goff.
Is he enough to keep us off this over?
No, I don't think so. We watch Atlanta, right? And we keep getting, I said last week, hey, up 7-0, good. They look good. Now forget about them getting cheated by the referees. They lose the football game because they're just a real soft, poor coach team at this point. So when you get into this game, you're saying, well, what's going to keep us away? I don't know, man. It's 2 teams that look like they're trying to give up and then play each other this week.
It's there's no doubt it's a tricky one. All right, let's move on to Niners, Redskins, the undefeated Niners. Going into Washington, traveling across the country. Niners opening up at 9.5. Now there's 10s across the board, 10.5 at Bovada. And the total opened up at 42.5 and is now at 42, 41.5, or 41. And I want to make a move on this under as soon as possible, as long as if you agree with this look. 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour in Washington on Sunday. The Niners have been disrespected every week. And maybe you could say they still are here. Sure. But this is not a spot where I want or need them, or they don't need to come in here and smash the Redskins. They just need to come out with a win and stay healthy. They have so many injuries on offense. They're playing their 4th and 5th tackles, Donnie. And when you look at what the Cowboys are doing without their starting tackles and compare that to the Niners, does that mean the Niners are an excellent football team? Because that possibly is the answer. The Cowboys looked abysmal without their starting tackles. This Niners defense is special. Their front 7 is so good. I mean, how impressive were the Niners this week? On the road, short week, they run over the NFC champs. Going over to the Redskins, offense is so bad. Who knows who's starting at quarterback? This under is screaming at us, and I think I should take it and make it a big play. Donnie, RightSide, Niners, Redskins.
I agree with your look on the under. I really do. I mean, you're talking about a coaching staff. You wanted to test their mettle last week, right? You're going against, the guy that if you just shake his hand, you'd be a head football coach, and Sean McVay gets extra week to prepare or extra time to prepare, and then you're coming into the football game being Kyle Shanahan and saying, all right, well, let me get this straight. I don't have my offensive tackles going against a nasty pass rusher, some dominant pass rushers, I should say. My Swiss Army knife, which can be in every formation, is a real mismatch on linebackers. He's not going to play in this football game either. And by the way, probably my best player on offense, George Kittle, is probably on one leg with a groin injury. We're not even sure if he's even going to suit up or even play. And they come out with that dominating performance. And now you're going to take a look at going up against the Washington Redskins, who used every trick in the book just to get out and beat the Miami Dolphins. So you're going to have a team that's an elite pass rushing team playing elite secondary football for San Francisco, going up against a Washington offense that is extremely limited. You're going to have Kyle Shanahan out scheming the hell out of the Washington Redskins defense. The Redskins don't have a terrible defense, but they're not going to be able to keep up in this football game and go toe-to-toe with the San Francisco 49ers. That's why this line is close enough to 9.5 and 10 in that range. I wouldn't take a look either. Say, well, 49ers had to get up for the Rams game. They put a lot into that effort. They put a lot in the Monday night game against the Cleveland Browns. This is a really good football team, and it's a lot of the things we talk about, Jimmy, with the Indianapolis Colts, those elite coaching staffs that can put together game plans despite whoever is at quarterback, running back, or wide receiver. Shanahan's got this team playing really well. They should get a double-digit win against the Washington Redskins here.
Yeah, it should be I'm gonna jump on this under for sure. And the more we talk about Peters and the way the Rams are acting, at least in that secondary, that Falcons-Rams over has got to be a must-play. These totals got to be must-looks here. Okay, let's keep rolling along. We have Chargers at Titans. And this is a spot where there are showers in the forecast, so we got to keep an eye on weather. 72 Fahrenheit, 7 miles per hour is the wind. Let's take a look at the Chargers Titans here at Sports Review. SBR odds page right here. And the Titans opened up at -1. Now they're -2. This total opened at 38.5 and has moved up to 40. And why, Donnie? Why has it moved up to 40? This is another total market move that opened very low and has moved up and does not make sense to me. We do not know who starts at quarterback. Mariota is so inconsistent. So if he's this inconsistent, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes out knowing he's about to get benched for Tannehill and has a great start. And then what's going on with the Chargers? You look at their depth charts and you're like, man, this is a good football team. You watch them on the field and they are trash. Trash. Hunter Henry is back, and that helped. But Phillip Rivers just looks terrible. Melvin Gordon has not made an impact. Keenan Allen looks invisible. Chargers, Titans, Donnie, this is a tricky one.
Yeah, forget about the final scores the last 2 weeks, Jimmy, with the Chargers, who they played, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. You might, look, they played with it. No, they got annihilated back-to-back weeks. Now they're going to go on the road. And the interesting part about it is you're taking a look at Tennessee, and what does Tennessee actually have to offer after getting shut out, going on the road, playing the Denver Broncos? But I got to tell you, it's interesting here. With the feel of the quarterback situation, I don't think you can start Mariota this week. He was terrible in the football game last week. You need that spark for a team that can maybe jump it. This was the season that Marcus Mariota was supposed to take over, be your franchise quarterback, and sign him long-term. It doesn't look like that's going to take place. And I actually think the offense will improve. How crazy is this, right? The offense is going to improve by putting Ryan Tannehill in a quarterback. You say, well, Donnie, they didn't really do much last week when Tannehill got in. You have to understand, Tannehill during the week and for the past 5 weeks is running scout team for the other team's playbook and not working with his own players. If he gets enough snaps, will be comfortable in the situation. I'm completely down on the Chargers. I mean, you want to take the Chargers maybe if they're getting 3.5 or 4 coming east. Basically looking at this game now with Tennessee favored by -2, and I agree with that line movement. And I like it even more, Jimmy, if Tannehill actually gets to start in this ball game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. But I think that Tom Moreno's right here saying Mariota in a contract year, they won't bench him. They want to see what he can do. I kind of feel like that's the spot. Tomer says Tannehill is better, but they have to see if Mariota is their franchise quarterback. And, and 40-ounce Beer Belly Dude says, wouldn't be surprised if it turns into a pick'em or the Chargers. I don't see how anybody could put money on the Chargers. And TJ Park says, no one could have said it better, Donnie. The Dawn. Okay, let's keep rolling along, and that under does look appealing. Let's move on to a game where, yeah, sure, I'm interested in the Ravens with the points and the over in the Ravens-Seahawks game, but again, I just don't know what to make of these two teams. Seahawks at 5-1. Are they a 5-1 team? 51 Fahrenheit showers, 9 miles per hour. This is a spot where the showers probably aren't going to affect these two teams too much because the Ravens do a lot of their damage on the ground and the Seahawks are used to that rain. How will Lamar respond to the Seattle crowd noise? And both teams just tricky to figure out. Seattle's showing a ton of adversity. Both teams can put up points against mediocre defenses, and I think that's what we're dealing with. Two mediocre defenses. Russell is playing out of his mind. Man, is Russell Wilson making a big statement for most valuable player. Ravens, Seahawks. Seahawks open up at -4. Now it's at 3.5. This total opened up at 50.5. It's still there at Pinnacle, 50 everywhere else. Donnie RightSide, Ravens, Seahawks.
How are we looking at under in this game? That's the only question I have. Like, who out there is a madman scientific in their, basement trying to concoct schemes where this game's going to stay under? 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5. Nobody is stopping anybody in this football game because both these quarterbacks sit back in the pocket, wait 3 seconds, roll out. They either run for it themselves or somebody frees themselves and is going to be wide open. This isn't your dad's Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom team. This isn't your dad's, Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis and Tony Siragusa and Ed Reed. Both of these teams, you're right, Jimmy, extremely average. Both these quarterbacks should move the football. And I got to say, I was on Cleveland last week, both personally and also in the Pick 6 contest that I put my plays up on the Audible each and every week. And I'm watching that game going, Cleveland's a much better ball club here. I was right on this one. And then you watch and say, well, no lead is ever safe with Russell Wilson. And all he does is make plays. He doesn't need wide receivers. He doesn't need running backs. And he doesn't need an offensive line. His offensive line, doing some metrics and different websites, one of the worst offensive pass blocking units in the league once again. And you know what? I laugh at that saying, it's actually a good thing because Russell is better when 3 or 4 pass rushers come at him. He jukes them and rolls out of the pocket and buys 5 or 6 extra seconds. He was dominant on third down last week on the road in Cleveland. Every third down conversion they needed, touchdown or non-touchdown, Russell Wilson converted it. He'll do the same thing this weekend. I look at both of these teams. When I see, the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know what type of record they had or coming in, what they were trying to battle back and forth with going, 25, 26, 27 points. They have some kind of record going on. They're going to do the same thing this weekend. And I think Lamar Jackson's going to be able to counter it with his legs on the ground. I like the over here. I do.
Yeah, the over makes a ton of sense. Absolutely makes a ton of sense. And then we look at this total that opens up at 50.5 and then moves down to 50, which doesn't make any sense. Going to keep an eye on this one. This is a game I really wanted to hear your breakdown on. Saints, Bears. Bears open up at -4. Get down at 3.5, and that's at plus money, and now 3 everywhere else. This total opens up at 39.5, now down to 38.5. That makes a ton of sense. Bears coming off of a bye, a dangerous spot. I want to back them here, but the Saints are just so good. And who is starting at quarterback for Chicago? I don't know if you have any inside info there, Donnie. 60 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour will be the wind Sunday in the early evening. Chicago's offense can't move the ball. And the Saints are just playing very, very good football. But the Bears off a bye, the Bears at home, only 3 points. Donnie, I can't wait to hear your breakdown here. Saints-Bears.
Boy, this is a tough one. You're so right on something. And again, we keep on talking about some of these teams that are coming off the bye, but does that really help the Chicago Bears on offense? Like, are we sitting back saying they're going to get schemed really well and Chase Daniel's going to come out and start throwing darts all over the football field? The one thing that you do have going right in your direction is when you take a look at the New Orleans Saints. Yes, they're a dome team. They played in Jacksonville on the road and won last week, but you're talking about a comfortable environment, real fast surface, even though it was grass. Now you go to Chicago and you see every team come in, slip, sliding like an ice skating rink. Kamara not going to be able to catch his feet, and this is where the Bears usually excel. But it's at one of those points where I'm saying, boy, the times have really changed in New Orleans. Elite pass rushing level, playing really good in the secondary, one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. Teddy Bridgewater doing enough in his football games to win, whether he has to throw against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or just keep everything under wraps and say, you know what, let me lean on my defense and get these road wins. The Bears have to win this football game. The Bears should be game. I'm waiting to see who the quarterback is actually going to be because, look, as much as we like Chase Daniel, it's a nice story, and I laugh and rip Mitchell Trubisky, they're a better football team with Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback because he can do more, as crazy as that sounds. But if this game, let's just say, Jimmy, had a nice surface, was maybe even on turf, I would like the New Orleans Saints a lot more than I do now. This is a really tough one to side with, but the one thing I can assure you, I don't see a lot of big plays in this ball game, and it's crazy because in the NFL, in the advent of all the penalties, looking at more points, there's a really lot of underlooks that I like this week, and this is one of them.
And that's been the ongoing theme for me this year is unders, and I've been trying to change that because my numbers are not good with unders this year. But I agree with you. And so let me ask you this, Donnie. It's at 38.5 right now. Ben is money saying Mitch is back at practice. If Mitch is in the game, does this creep up a point in the total? Do we get it back to 39.5?
No, when has Mitch shown us that he's just going to light it up? If anything, it'll be like, boy, he's going to be – and you're talking about a quarterback that's not really that accurate or good to begin with, and he's going to come back and be rusty and still somewhat injured where he might not want to run the football. I like the under even more if he's coming back in.
Interesting. Remo said, I considered this under for my SBR total survivor pool, as you should. It's got to be an under or nothing here. And so I guess let's wait till Friday. Then we'll know who's at quarterback, and I can ask you stronger questions on the Saints-Bears spot. Let's move on to the big Sunday nighter, and we got Prince of the City in the chat. I can't wait to hear what he thinks about this Eagles-Cowboys because, Donnie, I want the Eagles here. Cowboys opening up at -3. They are still at -3, but they're at -3 at plus 105. At plus 105. So we should be seeing 2.5 shortly. This total at 48.5, now at 49.5. Donnie, is Dallas in a tailspin? They just lost to an 0-5 team. Amari Cooper is supposed to be back this week. They're still missing 2 starting tackles. But what I want to know from you and from the chat is Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith underwhelming. Lawrence not getting after the quarterback. This defense and Rod Marinelli, whom I love, just doesn't look that good. What's going on with their linebackers who last year we were like, these are the two best linebackers in the league. This year, what the hell is going on with them? Dak is being exposed. That makes me feel good. I say that every year over and over and over again. Jason Garrett is a bad coach. Man, we're starting to think that he's got to have pictures of Jerry doing something horrifying, because how is he still the coach of this team? And unlike Prince of the City, I think that the Eagles are going to become better and better and better as the year goes on, more and more dominant. They're a legitimate playoff team. They need help in the secondary badly, but I think they're solid everywhere else. I like the Eagles here, Donnie, but this just has one asterisk. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger, and I can't wait to hear your breakdown of the Eagles Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, I was wrong last week, and it was kind of funny because sometimes you're wrong and you can still pull out a victory. The Eagles were getting shelled from the beginning. They couldn't defend anything on the outside. And here the Eagles coming down and, within a touchdown, possibly able to win, and then their defense showed its head again. Now, some things that the Vikings can do to the Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys really can't do. So, well, how about this or how about that? But the key actually, Jimmy, comes down to if Amari Cooper is healthy for this game, which doesn't look like he's going to be if he does play at all, wouldn't Amari Cooper just be in line for another 7 for 155 and 3 scores? Because the Eagles have no shot in their secondary. I don't know who's coaching the cornerbacks or just pulling guys off the street. It doesn't matter who's there. They get absolutely roasted, especially if you're an above-average wide receiver. But if he's limited or can't go, that really helps out the Eagles secondary, and then you can focus on Zeke and Dak and try to get after him on the front 7. But also, let's take into effect, you sat 2 linemen last week because the feeling going into the game with the Cowboys with the Jets was right, Jimmy. Hey, we're an NFL football team. The Jets really aren't, so it doesn't really matter who we play. As long as Zeke and Dak play, we'll walk out of here with a victory. They got stunned. They couldn't get up off the carpet coming down to that 2-point conversion. But looking at it from going forward this week, just because your 2 tackles come back doesn't mean you're healthy. You're talking about 2 guys, one on a high ankle sprain and one with a sprained MCL and a bad back. That usually spells doom. Now, do I think the Dallas Cowboys will be game because they're at home? Absolutely, I do. But to be honest with you, sometimes it doesn't come down to X's and O's. It's the Jimmies and the Joes that play the game. And if Amari Cooper is healthy, I don't know if I want the Eagles in this game because they haven't shown me anything that they can defend any quality wide receiver at any time, Jimmy.
They have. They've looked so bad in the secondary. Nick O says Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Robert Weimer says wrong team favored here. Eagles roll. Can't believe Cowboys are the favorite. Bookie Lover Q says Eagles coach put them in a must-win on Sunday. Torino says, I think the value's on the over. Eagles secondary is horrible right now.
Yeah.
Eagles offense is legit. Secondary is horrible. And I just heard you say yes to that. Is this a move that you would make over 49.5 and open to 48.5?
Both these teams should move the football. And the good point you brought up before, like when we talk about like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Jaguars are so good. Look at their pass rush. Look at their secondary. And then you look at the actual numbers, like maybe they aren't so good. You nailed it right on the head because if we're taking a look at last year, ending the season, I loved Dallas's defense. They could win at every level. And now I'm saying, well, it's primarily the same guys. And what aren't we getting out? Something is amiss on that defense. So the Eagles should be able to move the football. Carson Wentz has been playing at a high level. You might even get Deshaun Jackson back. I like the overlook. It's in a dome, fast surface. I think we get some points here. It's a good look.
Marino says Cowboys linebacks are good. The issue is the secondary. Says Cowboys secondary is the problem, not the front 7. Big E says Dallas wins. Nico says line will not move from -3. Don't fall in love with the Cowboys. AM says Jason Garrett is what's going on with them. Tormino says Eagles corners are horrible. Jones and Douglas can't cover anyone. I think the value is on the over. Bookie Lever Q agreeing with Tomore's sentiments about the linebackers are good. They're just on the field too much. Can't sustain, Dak can't sustain drives. DX Filer liking the under. Robert Weimer says Eagles D-line comes to play this week. Dak can't hit receivers. Some of them are hurt. The Clapper is a horrible coach. I can't bet this one fast enough. Ooh, Robert Weimer. Bookie Lover Q says Cooper is not healthy. Tormino says Eagles defensive line protected the secondary last year with Jackson and Jernigan out. Bennett gone. It's not the same defensive line. Wow. I'm liking this spot very, very much. Eagles and the over. And if Amari is back, I was actually thinking that he was going to be back, just not at 100%. And you're thinking maybe, so again, we'll need to know more on Friday night. This is the Sunday Nighter. Thank you, Paulie D. I'm not going to take it off till I have a losing week. I just hope these winning weeks are more than like 0.8 units, Okay, let's move on to the Monday Nighter. Patriots Jets. And thankfully, Sam Darnold will be behind center so we can have some fun with this game. The Patriots open at 10, and that's where they are right now. They were at 10 at plus 107. They're now at 10 at plus 100. This total opened up at 42.5, and now it's a 42.5 or 43. 66 Fahrenheit. Showers. Wind is 10 miles per hour. It was an impressive win for the Jets, rallying around Darnold, and nice to see. And you have to think that Bill Belichick will now figure out how to completely pick this apart, what's going on with Darnold. And the Jets, New England's offense is not being special. New England's offense, very pedestrian. Very pedestrian, but look, they're the Patriots. The Jets always play them tough. Always play them tough. We just saw the Jets shock the Cowboys. Can the Jets cover here at home on the Monday Nighter? Donnie, RightSide.
I think they have a chance to cover, but again, same theme of this weekend, Jimmy. You know what we're looking at here? The under in prime time on Monday Night Football again. I mean, you're taking a look at the New England Patriots, extra time to scheme and get ready for Sam Darnold, and not a lot of valuable weapons for the New York Jets. So you're going to try to feed Le'Veon Bell. You're going to try to get him involved as much as possible. That time is going to tick. And also when we take a look at the New England Patriots on their end, they'll be able to move the football, but this is the New England Patriots with the Randy Mosses of past and, being able to extend drives and throw deep shots. I think Tom Brady goes on the road, handles his business. They do those couple drives in the game that we've seen, very patriotic, like 6.5 minutes, 7-minute drives, being able to score touchdowns, field goals, whatever it might be. I like what Sam Darnold did last week. I was loving the fact that the Dallas Cowboys got beat, but you're talking about ramping it up again against the single best defensive-minded football with his defense playing lights out. I don't see Sam Darnold moving up and down the football field like he did last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. I think this game plays under in one of those games, 23-10 type finish, 24-10 type finish, with the New England Patriots winning again and saying, hey, we're the beast of the East over here, and we're going to continue to be like that for a while.
Omar J. Legend says, I'm from New England and taking the 10 points. Robert Weimer says, surprise of the week, Jets win outright. Game goes over as well. They've had this game circled all year. This is the Jets Super Bowl. Robert Weimer with a very interesting take there. Nick O says too many points, backdoor cover with Darnold. Big E liking Jets plus the points all the way. Nick O says take the under. Jake Bell is on the Jets plus 10. Bookie Lover Q says under is the right play. Donnie AM saying never fade Titan Tom. And Prince of the City and Omar J. Legend letting us know that Bennett out. Bennett has been suspended by the team. Tormina says, Pats beat the linebackers be much better this year. Defense has been strong. Pats don't want Brady hurt. They will be conservative with the lead. I lean under. There's Elliot V joining us. Wow, the under and I think the under is the most appealing spot. I'm a little worried about this line at 10 because I could make legitimate arguments on each side. Okay, that is our entire spot. That is our entire card. Let's go over it again quickly and just see. I'm just going to talk about the plays that jump out to me the very, very most, and that's the Colts. Donnie, when I say these, if you could let me know what you think is like the one or two best looks if you hear them from my card. So the Colts, Dolphins, Bills, under, Vikings, Raiders, over in Rams, Falcons, and under in San Francisco, Washington, as well as Chargers, Titans. Under. No,
I like it. I like where your head's at all week. And again, I'd like to cheer on the overs, and I usually am an over type guy, especially in baseball. But when I'm looking at some of these games, the overs just don't make sense right now. And I think across the league scoring is down this year. I think it will continue. But the one thing that is going to be interesting as well, because when we see the overcorrections, remember, Jimmy, the first 2 weeks of the season, way too many holding calls, conference call, refs got their ass ripped. And then all of a sudden the holding calls went away. Well, now you had that embarrassment. You had a couple really bad games on Sunday, and then that one on Monday that everybody saw. This could be kind of interesting because when the penalty flags don't come out, you might get more scoring. And we see market corrections immediately because you're just talking about one or two flags, a 22-yard run that doesn't now get called back that extends the drive. That's something to keep an eye out for. But those teams that look like they had given up, the Atlanta Falcons and the Rams game now down their secondary, they're going to be some fun overs to take a look at. Same thing with the Houston game versus Indianapolis, Jimmy.
Well, let me ask you this, Donnie, before we put a bow on this. Yep. What is the one or two spots, and I know you haven't locked anything in, but that jump out at you more than any other spot on this card?
I really like that Baltimore-Seattle over the 50. I think there's no reason to believe that both of these teams, would you be like, Seattle's going to hold like Baltimore to 17, or Seattle's going to struggle at home and put up 20 points? I don't see that happening. So I think that over is a pretty good look. New Orleans and Chicago, where are the big plays coming from in this game? Michael Thomas is going to be able to get deep against that secondary. It's always a sloppy turf. You're going to have an exciting pass rush coming against a really good offensive line from the New Orleans Saints, something an eye on. And it looks like in that football game, when you watch Teddy Bridgewater, not a lot of turnovers coming from New Orleans' side. And that's where the Chicago Bears could cash in with short fields. I don't think it's going to take place. So I like that under look as well. And then on Monday Night Football, you're talking about 42.5, 43 points. I just don't see the Jets go, hey, Jets get 24 points. I don't see it happening. I like that under look as well early in the week, Jimmy.
So do I. Everybody in the chat right now, why don't you drop the play that you have the most confidence in, your best look? Drop it in the chat right now. I'd love to get an idea of what everybody here is thinking is the best possible look. Donnie RightSide, if we start looking ahead at the weather in the Ravens-Seahawks game, and there is, in fact, showers, and I've asked this to a couple guys who are like, man, nah, Ravens on the ground, Seattle used to the wet. But if there are showers, is that going to concern you at that 50?
Not even one bit, Jimmy, because you're also taking a look at running quarterbacks that can make you miss. So defenders just sliding all over the field trying to get their hands on these guys. Pass rushers that can't get off the ball effectively. Now, it is turf, so we're not talking about like a bad condition on grass. But if you add that extra element in, good luck sacking either one of these quarterbacks one time in that game.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, we have some plays of the card coming in. Macaru, Colts. Ben is Money, Colts. Robert Weimer, Eagles. Ski Profit, Chargers, money line. Paul, Texans. John Heineman, Jets plus 10 and the Seahawks. Paulie D, the over in the Seattle game. Jay Peach liking the Pats at 9.5. 40-ounce beard, that belly dude liking the under in Saints Bears. Sean Glass, Miami in the points. This Bills can barely score 17. I mean, that makes me like the under in that game even more. Ziggy Balls, Giants, Buffalo game under, Raiders on the spread. Those are both looks that I want on my card. Tom Marino, Saints, Bears under at 39, going with Donnie there. Prince of the City, liking the Cowboys to dominate. Big E, Saints, money line. Craig, 77, Seahawks, money line. So if you're looking at just 15, 16 guys, we have multiple people on the Colts. Multiple people on the under in the Saints Bears. So that's where there's multiple stuff if we're looking at. And I think this is probably a good thing for us to do on Tuesdays, Donnie, at the end of shows to get everybody's best look. Because I could use the guidance here. Want to be wearing this Warren Moon jersey again next week. Dutch Boy Fresh Broncos moneyline is his best look on this card. Remarkable Gaming says, I don't know if I'll actually play it, but I think the Niners are being disrespected. And we could say that week in and week out, that they're being disrespected. And we should be making money off of it. And at least I had the under in that Rams-Niners game this past week, which made me feel very good. Donnie RightSide, there it is. There's our Tuesday look, preparing for the big Friday show when we are joined by Whale Capper. But we have absolutely no show without these great cappers in the chat. Thank you guys so much for all your insights, all your humor, and making this show so much fun. Donnie RightSide, any last words for the great cappers in the chat and those watching at home?
Yeah, thanks for tuning into the chat box. As you know, look, we love going back and forth. We love to get the information. Look, they even break information, Jimmy. We're doing a live show, and people come in the chat box. Hey, yo, Marcus Peters is out, so we can flow on that in the show and have some fun with it. So it's always great information. Keeps everybody involved. It's what we do here on the Audible. It's what we do here at sportsbookreview.com. Looking forward to Friday's show. Get some of these games hammered in. Man, NFL, what do we have on, like week 7 this week? Slow down, NFL. Slow down on us, Jimmy. I like this too much.
Yeah, it is very, very, very enjoyable. But you guys make it enjoyable. Let's big shout out to all the guys. Thank you for everything. Ben is Money, Ziggy Balls, Nico, Joe Rich Ramirez, Tomarino Tomar, John Heineman, Omar J. Legend, Robert Weimer, Silver Malco, Craig 77, Jake Bell, Dutch Boy Fresh, Remarkable Gaming, Biggie, Prince of the City, Tomarino Tomar, Ziggy Balls, Sean Glass, 40-ounce Beer Belly Dude, J. Peach, Paulie D, Ski Profit, Paul, Jay, Macaroon99, Bookie Lover Q, Ahmad Rogers, all you guys, thank you so much for everything here because we can't do it without you guys. You guys make it so much fun. Nutflush Allen, all of you guys, on behalf of Donnie RightSide and myself, let's have a big week. We will see you guys here on Friday when we will be joined by the Whale Capper. Let's get after it. Week 7, ready to be picked apart and picked for profit. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you for watching.